In the beginning, there was a throne. Not on earth, not in heaven, but above the highest heavens, surrounded by wheels of fire, beasts with 4 faces, and storm winds roaring from the deep. This is the Merkavah, the divine chariot, seen by the prophet Ezekiel on the banks of the Chebar River. And for centuries afterward, that vision would ignite one of the most intense and dangerous mystical movements in Jewish history. They describe how sages like Rabbi Akiva or Rabbi Ishmael would enter trance states, through fasting, reciting hymns, and vibrating divine names, until they ascended the 7 palaces of heaven. At each level, they encountered gatekeepers, angelic scribes, rivers of light, and celestial courts. But the goal was always the same, to reach the throne and witness the divine presence. It is above all heavens, yet present in the soul. The mystic ascends not by legs, but by words, secret, encoded, angelic names that must be recited in exact order and tone. The chariot responds only to sacred vibration. And so the practitioner becomes a vehicle, a living chariot himself. Now, transfigured into a cosmic being of fire and light, Metatron records the deeds of humanity, commands angels, and sometimes is mistaken for God himself. It is Metatron who sits on a secondary throne. It is Metatron who teaches the names. And in some heretical strains of thought, Metatron becomes the bridge between the infinite and the human, a role not unlike the logos in Christian theology or the bodhisattva in Mahayana Buddhism. It is carried by beings whose faces are man, lion, eagle, and ox, images that will echo into Christian, Islamic, and Gnostic visions. In fact, the apocalyptic literature of late antiquity, Jewish, Christian, Hermetic, shares these images, suggesting a shared visionary grammar. Unlike later Kabbalah, which focuses on divine emanations and Sphirot, the Merkavah mystics sought direct encounter. He pushes beyond. One hymn in Hekhalot Sutarti says, "I saw the throne of fire. My soul broke and fled. My tongue clung to the roof of my mouth. And I knew no longer if I was angel or man." He rides the chariot himself. The chariot, the names, the ascent, all point toward a reality that cannot be spoken, only approached. The mystic returns changed. No longer man, not yet angel. A living chariot. A vessel of fire. Their model was Ezekiel, who saw the heavens opened and beheld the Kavod, the radiant glory, seated on a throne of sapphire, borne by fiery beings called Chariot. The gates remain. Guarded. Waiting. Ready to open, to those who know the name. The texts tell us of sages who went insane, were consumed by fire, or lost their minds in the process. Because the vision is not just visual. But here, no names suffice. Even the mystic must fall silent. It reprograms reality. To see the chariot is to be unmade. As Hagigah 14b recounts, "For entered the pards. Ben Azai looked and died. Ben Zoma looked and went mad. Acre cut the roots. Only Rabbi Akiva entered in peace and left in peace." This was not metaphor. This was blueprint. A method. A system of ascent. Texts like Hekhalot Rabbati, 3 Enoch, and Maaseh Merkavah preserve the rituals of these early mystics. But here's the danger. The vision is not safe. Why? The chariot itself is symbolic and paradoxical. It is God's mobile throne, yet it never moves. At the heart of the Merkavah is the name. The chariot does not run on wheels but on divine speech. And here enters the great figure of Metatron. In 3 Enoch, Rabbi Ishmael meets Metatron, the prince of the divine presence, who was once the human Enoch. Yet the true mystic is not satisfied with angels. To do so, he must undergo terrifying transformations. The texts describe the practitioner becoming all-eyes like the Chariot. Becoming flame. Shedding identity. Merging with light. This is the mystical death. And through it, resurrection. Because at the chariot's heart is the throne. And on the throne, in radiant silence, is the divine presence, the Shekinah. And so the tradition ends where it began, in awe. And for those who dare follow,